Hey guys, David here with Fressler Tech giving you a brief tutorial on how to create an Angular web app using the Angular CLI and Docker. An intuitive and powerful UI is crucial to customer retention and progression. Angular is a TypeScript-based, open-source web application framework. Its usage centers around developing modules and inside of those modules, components. Modules are a cohesive block of code dedicated to an application domain, a workflow, or a closely related set of capabilities. And components are the most basic UI building block consisting of an HTML element powered by a TypeScript class. More information about Angular development can be found on their site angular.io. In the video description, you'll find a link to a good synopsis of the Angular methodology. In this tutorial, we'll create a basic Angular web app using the Angular CLI. Before you get started, be sure to have installed all of the prerequisites in the description or follow the link to my website for more details on those prerequisites. Once you've installed these dependencies, you should be able to use the Angular CLI to create a new web app. In this example, I'll create a new web app in the web app folder of my tutorial. So I'm going to change directory to my Qt course folder. I'm going to make a new directory called web app and cd to that directory. So now let's create the new web app using the Angular CLI command. So I'm going to use ng-new to create a new web app, and then I'm going to specify the directory as the current working directory where all of the files should be scaffolded. So this will create a new web app called web app in the current directory. And I'm going to say, yes, I do want stricter type checking, as well as Angular routing. I'm going to use CSS for my styling. So this will create a new web app called web app in the current directory. If you run into a package resolution issue that starts with eResolve enabled to resolve dependency tree, you may need to use the legacy dependency resolution method to bypass the issue. So I will use the node package manager, npm command install to install all of the dependencies, and then I'm going to use the legacy peer deps flag to use the legacy dependency resolution method. After running the scaffolding command, you should see messages similar to these. Great job, you've been able to scaffold your new UI. Now let's see it in action. Open Visual Studio Code using code. To start the new web app, run the command ng-serve in a new terminal window. You should see success output similar to this. Navigate to the URI specified and you should see a basic Angular landing page. Great, now you have a functional UI to get started with. So now that we have the web app up and running, we can go ahead and containerize it using Docker. So I'm going to stop the currently running server, and then in the root directory of the Angular app, I'm going to create a new file called DockerFile. I'm going to use the code linked in the description of the video, which will be a DockerFile in a GitHub repository, and I'm just going to copy and paste that code. In the build section, this DockerFile is using the Node base image for running Node applications. And then it's downloading the Angular toolchains, and then it's building our web app. In the prod section, it then adds the Nginx web server layer and exposes port 80 of the container. You may notice when you ran your app outside of Docker, your app was served on port 4200. However, in this case, Nginx is managing the ingress. So it will serve your app on port 80 of the container by default. Now let's build the container. So we're going to use docker build, and then we're going to tag this image as web API, and then we're going to use version 1. And we're going to specify the path to the Docker file as a current working directory. Once you've built the container image, you can run it in Docker using the command docker run and specify the port mapping from your local machine to the exposed port of the Docker container. In our case, we'll use host port 8081. So the command will be docker run -it -rm -p, and we're going to map port 8081 to the exposed port 80 of the container. We're going to specify our image name, Web API, and we're going to specify the version. Now you should be able to navigate to localhost 8081 in your browser to see the Angular landing page. Hey guys, awesome job creating your first Angular application. In the next video, we'll connect the web app to the web API that we created in the last video to create a microservices application. See you in the next one.